Hi Devanshi, how are you?
All well. Thank you so much for having me, Kriti.
It's my pleasure. So, what's happening around? What's going on?
Yeah, so too many things around Mithas, around my writing journey as well. The next book is coming out very soon. I'll soon be disclosing about that. And at the same time, a lot of books coming out from Mithas. So we've completed the 70 book target for this month, and we're very happy that in the past 1 year we've been able to publish over 70 books. So yes, a lot of good things happening around.
Congratulations, I'm so happy to hear this.
Thank you so much.
A warm welcome to you on Journeyteaches. Kindly introduce yourself.
Yes. So, hi everyone. I'm Devanshi Sharma. I'm an author and an entrepreneur. So, I've been writing for over a decade now, and I've published over 6 books. And I am the founder of Mithas Services, which is a one-stop solution for all your marketing requirements and publishing. So, that's about me.
Thank you so much. So glad to have you here. So, let's begin with the
Thank-
questions.
Yes.
What all are the industries covered under writing for one or more streams of income?
Sure, that's a brilliant question. And I love the fact that you started with this question because, a lot of writers kind of think about how can we make a career in writing, or, this question that is writing a payable job, yes or no? So, yes, absolutely. Writing is, the new age marketing for most of the industries at this moment. So, I'm going to list the things that you asked first and then I'll explain them. The first thing, of course, is marketing. So, when we talk about marketing, marketing is not about putting digital ads, it's about writing good words that sell. So that's number one, where a lot of content writers are required. The second field, of course, is blogging, which is an asset that you have for yourself, and that is something that's growing immensely. The third thing is instructional designing, or the edtech, education technology industry, where you create courses or you develop a learning base. So that's a beautifully growing industry at this moment for writers. And of course, apart from that, social media management or social media writing plays another important industry in the content writing segment. So Kriti, having said of all these industries, and there are many more, I think one thing that the lockdown has taught us is that you need to reach to the phones of the people. And how do you do that is not really with the help of putting an ad or putting something at the back end, but it's with the help of the words that you write. So if I tell you today, that I am going to be your dream mentor, that's something that's going to catch your attention, and you're going to stop and see to it, right? As compared to something that's less effective in terms of writing. So I think there are a lot of kind of scopes that have come out in these last 4 to 5 years for writers.
Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. And these are so many innovative careers therein for writers, and there are a lot many choices. Okay, so what's the process of being recognized as an author from a writer?
Right, right. I love the questions that you've created. All of them are really interesting. So, being a writer is basically, thinking about an idea and writing the book. Now, to be an author, a published author, the journey is about publishing, right? So, when you think of an idea, when you think of, that this is the story I want to write, after which being consistent and completing the book, and then finally going ahead and getting it published is the whole journey that brings you to that what do I say, milestone of being an author. So I think the whole journey of publishing comes under these two words that you've described. And the second thing, what it takes is creativity, consistent hard work, and perseverance. If you have these things, I think that will completely take you going ahead.
Absolutely, these qualities are a must. Okay, so what are the steps of building a good author profile for yourself?
Right. So the first step, of course, is completing the book and editing it well, getting reviews from beta readers. This is something, Kriti, I do it till date. When I'm writing, I try getting in touch with people who read a lot of that particular genre, and I share the book with them, asking them, that hey, what are your views on this? So that's the first step, right? You complete the book, you get it reviewed with people, and get to understand and refine your art and craft when you're writing. After that, the next step, of course, is to get published. So once you've written the book, reach out to publishers, get your book published, and then from here on starts the author profiling, where you need to build a brand on social media. It's not like a need though, but it's something that really helps you in staying connected with people who are going to make your world, the readers. So building a profile on social media, staying connected with people, responding to all the people who are around you, and telling them about what's happening next. I think that's the most crucial part of the whole journey. After which, of course, in the author space, talking about writing, because that's what people follow you for, talking about the stories. I think when you have all these things coming in consistently, that is when you build a strong author profile successfully. The most important part, of course, is sticking to your craft, talking about that craft, and of course living that craft with the followers that you have.
Absolutely, maintaining and creating a personal brand for yourself really helps, wherein you can share stories and you can share some writing tips as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, very.
Okay. So, what are some points that the writer must consider while writing a particular piece of content? May it be short stories, a novel, fiction, or non-fiction?
Sure. So, when we talk about creative writing, I think the parameters are very different for different writers. So, for me, relevance or relatability plays a very crucial role when I'm writing something. Can I relate to this story, or can, one of my readers relate to this? That plays a very crucial role for me. For someone else, it might be, the plot, the characters. So, I think the parameters for creative writing is very different for different authors, but I'll share mine. So for me, when I am reading or writing a story, my base idea is the characters. I base a lot of my stories on the characters. So one thing that I always suggest also is that build characters that can live with your reader for ages. So sometimes, we read a book, we forget the book title, but we remember the character. Oh, wow, that character, when we're reading, any of the books from the past as well, the classics, we remember the characters, right? We remember how significant that character was. So, for example, I was reading Beloved, which is a horror fiction, an American horror fiction, and the character of Beloved, or the character of the people surrounding her, they stayed with me even till date. So I give a lot of examples from this book solely because of that reason. So that is the first thing. The second thing, of course, is the plot. So when we talk about the plot, and I always say this, that when you're thinking of publishing, the hero is the story. So the story needs to be, that significant or that effective, that when someone is reading, they can't come to the conclusion like this. And the third thing, of course, is the narration. So when you're narrating a story, let's say you and I are talking and I bore you enough, then you'll be like, next time I'm not going to call her for an interview, right? But when we kind of have an interesting conversation, maybe that stays with both of us. So I think narration is talking to the readers, and it plays a very important role. So these are few things that I feel are really important for writing.
Absolutely agreed. So true. Okay. So, how to overcome such self doubts based on who will read my book or my vocab is not that good?
Right, right. So, see, two parts to the question. The first one, of course, when we talk about how to deal with self doubt, the only way out is believing in your story, because, the harsh truth is that if you don't, then nobody else does. So that's one thing that definitely needs to be in your mind, that, hey, I'm writing a story. This is a story I have invested my time upon. How can I, doubt this idea of mine? One simple way of how I deal with self doubt at times when I'm writing is that I put the base idea. Why did I start writing this story? And I put it in front of me that, okay, this is the reason that I started. So now why am I doubting it? So that is one way of, just reminding yourself that, hey, the story idea was very good. Now let's not deviate from it. And the second part of your question, where you asked, that how do you kind of build your vocabulary, or is it that important? So the story in fiction specifically is the most important part. The vocabulary is important, but when a story is good, you can work on the grammar. When the story is not good, then nothing works. So I think vocabulary, the simpler it is, the better it is for readers, because then you can reach out to a mass audience, and you can be inclusive to people who know a lot of fancy words and those who don't as well, right? So I think that's a choice that we need to make, and then we need to decide that, hey, do I want to go with a very fancy vocabulary, or am I fine being how I talk to you? So if that is the choice you make, then you decide thereon how you want to develop your vocabulary.
Absolutely. You need to decide for yourself, and you need to trust
Correct.
the process, and you need to trust your idea as well.
Very true. Very true.
Yes, okay. So, do you think self editing multiple times is enough, or should we go into an experienced editor as well?
Right, right. So I think my views on editing is inspired from my editor Stuti. She always says that writing is an art and editing is artistry. So I think when we talk about writing, when you write for yourself, then you edit it multiple times. You're watching it with one perspective, right? The moment you have an experienced editor on board, somebody who understands the industry, somebody who understands the language, and somebody who understands the genre, that person adds the kind of value that you can't even imagine to the book. Sometimes the whole book just looks different after getting a different perspective. Sometimes when we are editing at Mithas as well, the editors come up and tell me that, hey, this part of the book is not coming out as the author wants. So it's very interesting to me that how sometimes, even without meeting the author or knowing the author, just by reading the words, the editors can understand that this is not what he wants to say here. Let's change it to something else. So I think for me, honestly, the editor's role is really important. It's as important as the author's. And, it gives a lot of perspective, not just in the grammar space. A lot of people get confused that editing is about commas and full stop. It's not. It's more about the perspective that somebody brings to a book. So for me, it plays a very, very important role.
Absolutely. The instant you narrated as well, that also justifies. Absolutely. Okay. So,
Right.
Amazon, KDP, or traditional, each has its own pros and cons. Therefore, it's very
Right.
confusing for the beginners as well. What would be your take on this to solve this particular problem?
Sure, sure. I think that's a great question again. And from where did you get all these questions? A box of treasured questions, man. Great ones. So, the first thing, yes, the first thing is KDP. I always feel that if you're starting as a writer, let's say you've just started writing a short story, KDP, plays a very good role in getting genuine feedback from readers, so that you don't really expect a lot of returns in terms of royalties, or in terms of the sales. But I think what I see, the best point in KDP is that you get genuine feedback, not just from your own country but also from across the world, without increasing the cost of the book, or anything else in the operational aspect. So if you're starting as a writer and you just want to explore if people are liking your work or not, you just want to put up a short story and see how it's working, KDP is one of the best platforms to do that. You can always go up, create your own cover on Canva, put it up, and just see how it's coming across. After which, I definitely believe that the next step should be getting your book published with a publisher. The reason is very simple. The kind of value that a publisher adds to a particular book or the project is immense in terms of the experience. It's immense in terms of understanding the market, and it's also immense in terms of bringing the book to the target audience. So while we can all definitely, publish ourselves in today's world as well, but there is a reason the publishers help you in the market of the book. So I feel that the first step can be KDP. Definitely an ebook is a great idea, but yes, after which, if you're looking at expanding your career in writing, the next step should be to reach out a larger market in the Indian space as well, and of course in the international markets, with a renowned publisher, or a publisher who understands what you are writing or who shares the same vision. So that is my.
Absolutely. Experience really matters, and in order to like go and expand your career as an author, so you have to go
Yes.
with traditional publishing as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's very
Yeah. So, what are some of the hacks in order to crack good publishers in the industry if one goes for this traditional publishing?
sure. So when we talk about, I think getting selected with any publisher, I think the first thing is how interesting and how marketable your story is. So I always say that, focus on the writing part because everything else is kind of attached to that first step. So I think the story plays a crucial role. Second, a good proposal, with the help of a synopsis, 3 sample chapters, it plays a very important role. So just create that proposal, and I think that should help. And the last part is, keeping the hygiene check of your documents when you're sending it across. Just, run it through an editing tool to see if there are any, silly errors that you've made. So I think these are few things that you can keep in mind, and that should help.
Absolutely. Some people always think that this is the toughest phase to get selected, but if you really
Hmm.
work upon this, like sending in the sample chapters and editing well according to you, so it really matters and you can crack publishers. Okay.
Yes.
So, marketing well is the only way for your book to reach its desired target audience. So, what do you suggest about some of the important strategies to consider?
Right, right. So the first thing, of course, is that you start ahead of time. So if your book is coming out, let's say in January or in a February week, just start promoting it, talking about it earlier to that, so you can build a loyal community of people. And I always say that do not think about creating followers on Instagram or creating the followers on Facebook or the subscribers on YouTube. Think of creating a community who shares a similar vision with you. That's very important as the first strategy. The second thing is reach out to people who know you so they can support you in the initial phase of the book. This is something we all miss out on, which is just in front of us, right? So that becomes the second strategy, that start with the people you know and then reach out to a broader market. It helps you build that kind of a rapport with the publisher too. And of course, the third thing that I would like to suggest in the marketing space is keep on exploring different ideas. So you might think that, okay, this is something I've seen 1,000 times, but what is the USP that you can add to that? If you've seen somebody doing a live for 30 times, then what is different that you can bring in the 31st? I think that's very important, to keep on exploring and experimenting. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you just keep on growing with each experiment that you make.
Absolutely. I just loved the third point. Thank you for this.
Thank
Okay.
thank you.
So, some entrepreneurs, like when they teach, they go by the idea that marketing starts even before beginning to write. How true is
True.
that?
I honestly don't, support this too much, because for me, being a writer and writing for me is a craft. It's an art, and the idea of starting Mithas was to build a new world with words, because words can bring a change, and I'm sure you will agree because you write well as well. So that is where the whole idea of writing is. It's not in marketing, man. Marketing is just to take your book to people. It's not all about marketing. I think writing is a craft. It is a soul wala thing, it just gets connected. It's something that drives you. And for me, if I'm writing, it's for me, because, otherwise, just writing something and putting across because I haven't published for 2 years is not something what I believe in. I believe in the fact that when you're writing, it has to come from the heart. It cannot be something that's just around you. So I do not support this, that marketing comes before writing. Marketing is a medium to reach out to readers. It's not the reason for writing.
Exactly. I can really feel the emotions coming in from the words itself. Writing is an art, and you should first write for yourself rather than thinking about the
Right.
audience and rather than thinking about marketing strategies.
1,000% true.
Yeah. Otherwise, people can also go through like a writer's block as well, thinking
Very,
that who will, like, how they will market the book. Yeah.
yes, true, true. Very true.
Okay. So, while writing, how should we practice the statement which you always say that readers make writers?
Correct, correct. So yes, I completely believe in this because no matter what I do, became a bestseller, and that was a turning point of my writing career. That happened only because of the readers. There was no other reason why it would happen. But I kind of get your question that how important is the reader's perspective when you're writing. So how I kind of go ahead with it is that I write my first draft the way I want, but I edit it keeping in mind my audience as well. I will not lie on that part. Readers play a crucial role to me. I write to communicate what I'm thinking. So if that communication doesn't happen the way it should, then what's the point of me writing something and nobody, understanding what I am? So that's exactly what I meant, when we were talking about vocabulary. So let's say my readers are, of the age group 18 to let's say 30, and I'm writing in a language which nobody in that age group understands, then what's the point of that communication? It gets abruptly, kind of ended in between. So for me, the first round of writing is completely for myself. Literally, nobody gets that space to intervene into it. But the first round of editing is where I keep in mind that, okay, this is what my readers had said in one of my reviews. So that's how I function.
Absolutely, we should always take the constructive criticism. And what's
Yes,
the point
yes.
of writing if we are not able to express ourselves correctly?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, okay. So, what would your advice be for the writers just beginning to explore their journey to become renowned authors?
Yes. So the first thing you mentioned, in fact, that write for yourself, not for anything else. So if you're thinking of writing, the reason to write should be that you want to tell a story. It shouldn't be that, hey, I want to be a bestseller or I want my book to be adopted as a web series. These are cherries on the cakes that will come in later. But the first thing is writing. So just think of your story. Think of you, create a world of yours, and then move ahead with it rather than, starting with the fact that, hey, I want to get published. So that's the first thing. And second is to trust your story, because like I said, if you don't, nobody else does. So trust yourself, trust your story, and I think if you do that, you will be more confident about your writing and you won't leave it midway. So that's one very important way of dodging the writer's block as well.
Yeah, exactly. How do we label the tag of the international bestseller and Amazon bestseller?
Right. So this is very confusing to me also till date. Amazon, of course, has their own ranking system, and that helps us in understanding, which are the books that have been in the bestsellers list or not. And different people, Kriti, I think, follow different parameters for the best-selling part. But I think when you feel that a specific community of readers have started reading your work and they've started to respond to it, I think that's when the bestseller tag comes in for me, that x amount of people who I know have read, reviewed, and come back with their reviews. I think that plays a very important
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so would you like to talk about the workshops and related run by you, like one and only by Mithai Services?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So yes, we've been doing workshops for almost 2.5 years now, and I'll be honest, the idea started with me sitting on a summer afternoon thinking, "Ki chalo, let's do something different," because the job part was getting a little monotonous. So it started that way, but we've reached around 10,000 workshoppers till now, and we do a lot of workshops on content writing, creative writing, and publishing as well. So if anyone wants to enroll for it, they can visit Mithas, and I think the team would be more than happy to help them out.
Absolutely, I will drop the related links in the description below. Do check them out. Thank you so much, Devanshi, for joining in. It was a great pleasure to have you here.
It was my pleasure. I absolutely enjoyed it, and I was equally excited as you to be here, talk to you, have this interesting discussion, and I absolutely loved the questions. I mean, मेरे को बहुत मजे आए in hearing all the questions.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I absolutely found it extremely diligent and extremely interesting. So, like I said, that the kind of questions that you brought in were really different from the ones that I usually answer. So I really like that fact, and of course, I enjoyed exploring. I wouldn't say it was me speaking. I think we were kind of discussing and exploring how writing is for people. So I absolutely enjoyed being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for these kind words.
Absolutely.